She's pretty little tall for my liking, but you know.
Hey,
Wouldn't throw her out of bed for eating C.I.A. secrets.
Yeah.
Eating microfilm.
Yeah.
you'll never find the microfilm of mine.
Girl, you're hot. What happened to your tits? And now
They're
Wounds.
permanently mutilated.
like seriously, every time I fucking look at her now, I think of the. Oh no, I don't know what to do. The British man doing her voice impression,
British.
reading the book. I don't even remember who it was.
Fancy a game of snooker?
Yeah. Something like that.
They played snooker with me titties.
He definitely put a British twist on it.
Boob snooker.
Who did they do? Because one of them I've done like it's like
I've said snooker like 4 times in the past 48 hours.
Wow, weird. Maybe you should play it.
Put it on my vision board.
From the cosmos.
It's bumper pole, isn't it?
World champion snooker player.
narrated by Joe Miller. Voice actor.
Bumper billiards.
This. Oh,
Is there a picture?
yeah. Apparently, I guess he's done a voice for Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh. That's real big over in the UK.
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. It's like Sesame Street. or whatever. And they have Sesame Street.
Do they?
Oh, it's syndication.
Sasami.
Yeah, they watch a lot of. They take in a lot of our American.
Colonialism is still has far reaching.
Well, it's kind of reverse colonialism.
Downtown Abbey and
I mean, everywhere else in the
Teletubbies.
world like watches our shit.
yeah, cultural imperialism.
Yeah, they don't got Hollywood and fucking England.
That's how you win hearts and minds. Hey, everybody! Welcome to Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclasts. I'm your host, Mike Lucht, and as always, I'm joined by
Spencer Tutti Fruity O'Rudy Lowry.
Irish.
Fresh and fruity.
Is that Cliff?
Yeah, it's Tutti Fruity, good booty. That whole song's about having fucking ass sex.
Well, it's abbreviated. It's abbreviated.
Yeah, it is. That's what that like. It is said that Little Richard wrote that song about a nice ass and fucking it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Tutti Fruity, good booty.
Fruity in the booty.
That's the original lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Tutti Fruity, good booty.
But he changed it to On
Why
the
is it
Rudy.
fruity?
Well, I mean, they needed to be able to publish it. You know?
Maybe it's On the Root E.
I thought it was.
He went deep.
I thought it
Talking
was.
about the shaft
Oh,
of his
Rudy.
pianist.
I thought it was. Oh, Rudy.
The bass.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, Rudy. I don't know.
I thought it was about the girl from the Cosby Show.
Yep. What happened? She stood by Cosby.
What?
Oh yeah, I'm Chris Wells, by the way.
God.
Well,
Man, talk about picking a dumb hill to die on.
Yeah. Dr. Cosby.
yeah. I mean, she still sees him as Cliff Huxtable, her dad.
Oh my God, that poor girl. Anyways, speaking of regrettable sexual encounters,
Wasn't it
today.
Theo? Oh no. I'm thinking of the Family Matters.
Oh, yeah,
guy. Yeah.
No, Theo's still working. Today we're covering the CIA's control of Candy Jones, and in extension to that, we're going to talk a little bit about the mythos of Project Monarch, which is the
Nothing to do with butterflies.
no, well, a little,
Really?
a little. It's one of the trigger symbols, and that's why, man, this goes into all that Hollywood mind control bullshit. We're not really
Yeah,
gonna
when you dip a vagine in ink and then put it on a piece of paper, it looks like
Yeah.
a butterfly.
a Horseshack symbol,
Uh-huh.
like that guy from Welcome Back, Kotter. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Project Monarch mythos a little bit, and some other women who have basically the same story as Candy Jones, only theirs is much more sexually explicit to the point of, God, it's just awful. Ugh. Anyways, before we get into that, though, as always, we're going to do a little What's Weird this week.
All right, let me go first here for a change. I call this one Felonious French Fry Fricasse.
That's a variety headline.
This
if I
was
ever
in
heard
the great state of Kentucky about just a few days ago. Guy got cold fries at a Wendy's. What can I say? There was a verbal argument. Both pulled out guns and exchanged fire. And
They both had guns?
yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he pulled a gun and popped a couple of shots at 26-year-old Twanisha Coleman. over cold fries, and then probably the shit talking that ensued.
Always over cold fries, man.
Yeah, well, you got the hot fries that go in the cold frosty. So, I mean, if they're both cold, you see where I'm going with this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, he doesn't have to resort to violence, but it takes a minute. I was telling off mic, off mic,
Yeah.
that French fries take a minute and a half in an industrial fry later at a restaurant, or less, maybe a minute and 15.
It depends on the fry.
Wendy's has pretty thick fries.
Wendy's has thin fries now, yeah.
Yeah, probably a minute and a half, yeah. Not as thin as McDonald's, but not as thick as Brahms. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they got the
They're
crinkles.
not quite a shoestring, and they're a natural fry, so they got the skin on.
Wait, don't they all have the wedge now? Wendy's is on the wedge now. Or is that
they
just
on
their
the wedge?
breakfast menu?
The Wendy's wedge.
I think it's just wedges now, bro.
And square patties. Thinking outside the bun.
Yeah, and they use the leftover patties to make the chili.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Wendy's. No, yeah, there's been several incidents like this. I've heard definitely one story that was French fry related,
Yeah.
and a couple others.
Well, you
I
know,
have
people
seen
are.
so many videos of people flipping the fuck out at Wendy's or McDonald's or any fast food place over a cold fry, and the person being like working there like, look, man, I mean, this is fucking fast food. What do you?
It's
dude.
the fucking equalizer, man. People have a hard life, you know. They fucking struggle just to live, and this guy treats himself to a fucking nice Wendy's meal.
Yeah.
You know, and the
succulent
fries are cold,
Wendy's meal.
and he's already at the fucking end of his rope. I mean, like most people are.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe slightly higher in the fast food line, but
Yeah.
you know, and
All it takes is one cold French fry to.
and then she probably said, you know, I can only imagine. She said, no, they're not cold. You know, when my whole thing, they could have just fried some fresh. This could have all been avoided.
Yeah.
Anyways, one dude they exchanged fire. The woman got shot in the buttock. Just
The
a single
buttock.
buttock. Yeah.
Buttock.
Singular buttock.
Yeah.
Is one cheek
That's
still a buttocks, or is the whole thing a buttock?
It's a buttock. Yeah.
Buttocks.
This was a one cheek sneak.
Okay.
Yeah.
buttocks.
And, you know, apparently the woman, this Coleman, had
And she's going to work at Wendy's
charges.
strapped also.
Yeah,
which-
and like I
gotta
was
be a
just
rough
about to
Wendy's.
say, she's already been convicted on felony theft and gun charges, so she wasn't even allowed to contain a firearm. So that means she broke the fucking law to make sure she has a strap at the fucking Wendy's
Yeah.
in Kentucky.
she got that plate on her.
I mean, I can see inner city New York or something, you know, other places too.
You know what?
Kentucky?
I will say, one thing I admire about both these people is they don't take any shit.
Okay, I like
Yeah, they
the
got
Wendy's.
Moxie in jail
The
time
Wendy's
now.
worker was already
Too
on
much.
probation with a conviction on felony theft and gun charges
Yeah.
that she
couldn't
already
even
had.
legally have a gun.
You know, she could not legally have a gun, but she was packing heat. So, I mean, that's a potential Fed charge right there. Usually the state will just take it. But
Well, you know, she'll spend her time on probation or more jail time knowing that she didn't take any bullshit.
she gonna get the time. Yeah. Yeah, so when keeping it real, it's the when keeping it real goes wrong. She
I ain't gonna be fucked with when I'm working the fry later.
don't play with my French fries. Yeah. So did anyone get hit? Where did it say anyone got?
Yeah, the woman, Twanisha Coleman got
so
shot in the buttock.
All right, where does it say who drew first?
The fella James Wooten.
Oh, he pulled.
Yeah,
Damn.
he opened fire and she returned.
Well,
Damn,
I
Jimmy.
mean that's a self-defense situation, so she shouldn't get assault. But I don't know. I mean,
considering her priors, it's
why did that dude feel like he really needed to pull the gun out? You know?
yeah. What did she say to him
Yeah, like what?
to make that gun?
well,
come out?
and maybe she knows that this is the type of situation that may or may not happen at this particular Wendy's on
Very
a regular
often,
basis.
yes.
Yes.
or to her in general, wherever she
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
What is it about me that makes people want to shoot me all the time?
I gotta carry a gun with me every time I go to work at Wendy's.
She's got a criminal past of packing heat. It seems like she might be an aggressor often. You know?
Quite a possibility.
Well, I'm sure she didn't say, "I'm sorry, sir. Let me refire some fries for you immediately." Otherwise,
yeah.
you wouldn't have pulled the gun.
Her
fuck
temperament is not what's needed for the Wendy's Corporation.
I don't care for her demeanor.
Yeah. I know. I
I'd like
don't.
to speak to your manager, please.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, where's the complaint
I
card?
bet the Frosty machine was down too. You know.
Oh yeah. See, all it takes is just
It's like a falling down situation. The
Yeah.
fries are cold and the Frosty was non-existent.
it's all the real bullshit that happens through your day until the cold fries come, and that's what sets you over the fucking edge.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
His car
man.
was probably overheating on the way to that fucking Wendy's. He was probably getting a meal for his someone at home too. It wasn't even his fucking fries.
Falling Down really is one of the greatest movies. I like
Oh, it's fantastic.
Great
It's
fucking
fantastic,
movie. Great
yeah.
story. Man, just flipping the fuck out.
Yeah.
I was
and
at-
it was the era it was produced in too, like the
Yeah.
socio-political
White
climate
privilege.
in LA. in the
I
early
thought about it
90s.
yesterday at the Army Navy store a little bit, because the Army Navy scene.
That's a good scene, yeah.
This is Cyclone B. You hear it? It's empty. They use this. Great movie. Y'all check it out. Even though what's his face?
And he's complaining about that soda can being 79 cents or something like that.
50 cents.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
It's
50.
supposed to be 50 cents. $1.
God, that's fucking awesome.
That was a great movie.
I mean, because everybody who's lived a life worth living has been there,
yeah,
and
on the
fantasized.
wrong fucking
Everybody
day.
that I know that's seen that,
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, yeah, get him,
Sitting
get
in
him.
traffic, the fast food place fucking sucks. Your family, nobody knows about your whole family situation that's
Yeah.
pending
Yeah.
in the time except you. So you're stuck there. Then you go through the traffic. Then you get to the fucking Wendy's, and you got to deal with this lady, or does she identify as a lady? I don't know. She looks a little studly. Not sure. But yeah, that's
Well, she's Kentucky feminine.
that's a Kentucky too, right
Nice
there.
drumsticks.
Well, I don't know. I understand his plight, but it's like, yeah, come on.
I think it should be no fault in this situation.
I've been a little
Yeah.
short with a fast food person here or there.
You?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, because goddamn, I've worked in fast food. I know.
No, I remember.
But
one
I also, at
specific
the same
incident,
time,
actually.
I'm just like, yo, come on, man. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
You're making it hard.
The lady screamed,
Yeah, well, you learned the error of your ways.
Yeah.
No fucking sausage.
I'd like to think you have the presence of thought to be like, you know what, this isn't worth gunfire.
Yeah, oh yeah,
De-escalate.
definitely. I would not resort to gunfire. In fact, most of the time, I'll say a little smartass mark. They'll say a little smartass remark, and then I'll just take whatever I got and have to go deal with
Good
it.
show.
check it for spit.
And fucking nah. But, I mean, it's I like to think that most people. I've worked in the restaurant industry a lot.
Yeah.
Never, ever have I seen anybody purposely do something disgusting. to
Same
someone.
here.
Yeah.
Same here. I
Like,
worked in restaurants for
that's
15 years.
beyond-
No matter what happens with the customer.
Now,
no one's
if
ever
they
done
ask
Yeah.
for no onions, will you put a bunch of onions on there? Yep. Just to fuck with them one time if they've been a dick. That's more at a restaurant setting where you actually have the customer in there and they've been a dick for a while.
This'll show them.
And
Well,
the-
see, that's what I do at McDonald's whenever I do, which is increasingly rare these days. But if I get a double cheese, I'll say double cheese and no pickles. Because they have some that are already made and sitting there getting dry in the warming oven.
Oh, yeah.
So if you say no pickles, they're not just going to take the pickles off. They make you a fresh one.
Ah.
So you can do no mustard, no ketchup. You can say, you don't even have to say I'm allergic. They'll make you a fresh one.
you just say a specialty one and
Yeah.
they have to make you a
Yeah, they can't
McDonald's.
just take something off of a burger that already exists.
The
And that
same-
way the cheese ain't hard. And,
But
The
we're
same
talking
fast
about a
food
classy
that-
place called Wendy's right now.
Yeah.
oh, well, it's,
McDonald's is the only fast food that smells the same coming out as it does going in. I've noticed.
I don't think it comes out.
Actually, you may be right.
it's the Steak and Shake of Kentucky. Yeah. Wendy's. Whoa.
This place makes Denny's look like IHOP.
All right, that's what I got.
Well, I don't know. Mine this week, as much as I was trying to avoid all the weird things that are just happening because of political things,
Yeah.
and he who shall not be named. This one is a little. I'm thinking of it in a different perspective, not of the thing that most people would think of it is. All right, so the military was deployed to the U.S. border this week.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, along with National Guard, we've got 1,500 Army and Marines. The Marines, it was a big show of force. Really.
Shout out to our National Guard friends.
It's really just a big show of force as far as I'm concerned, as far as that goes. But they had fucking Marine Hueys, I think, or the little two-propellered ones.
Yeah, Huey's.
Those are actually, I guess, the Navy drives them, the Marines ride in them, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, there was some Marines deployed, and there's 1,500
The two-rotor is the Chinook, by the way.
No. It's the plane-looking one, not the helicopter. It's the one that.
Oh, those are the Osprey.
Ospreys.
The
It was the
yeah,
Osprey.
Osprey.
Yeah. which I hear are very unsafe and dangerous, but they have a high failure rate. But anyway, those have been there, and it did make me think about, the immigrants coming over and all that stuff, and, the show of force, whatever. I think it's all just a negotiating tactic for fucking the art of the deal, motherfucker. But because you always got to start high. You start at a ridiculously high point to negotiate something.
Your mother's dead.
And that's why everybody's freaking out about this. I'm like, no, the dude's just
I'm just kidding. But
he's just a master negotiator.
But she is a whore.
But anyway, it made me
she's a
think,
whore. Yes.
boy, the price of fentanyl is going to go up, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, 'cause that's
And all that good Mexican meth, too.
Oh, Mexican meth, and the fent, which, this shit's too cheap anyway. People really
Fent.
It's
too
really
cheap.
It's too cheap. Okay,
Yeah, that's the problem.
that's the problem.
They can kill some of these rich cocksuckers.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
All the opium crops and stuff. They said the price of heroin went down, because people aren't like
On the down.
yeah.
Because people want the stronger fentanyl now.
That's basically it's what I'm doing. I'm giving I'm like a
Black market Dow Jones.
a black market Dow Jones report here, and I'm giving my predictions like the guy on CNN. I will
The
predict.
big red buzzer guy.
I will predict that the fent stocks are skyrocketing right now. So invest in fent.
Invest in
Buy
fent.
now.
Invest in fent. Sit on that shit for about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Then sell it and then invest.
And watch the bodies and the dollars roll.
quadruple your return.
And then invest in maybe some buprenorphine stocks or something like that.
Yeah.
afterwards.
You're gonna need to invest in that, and then possibly, eventually, I think after the border situation
Chocolate.
calms down, the heroin market will go back up because the fent will get cut out because they realize that's a problem. And I think our
Yeah, because
government,
they're watching Mexico, not Afghanistan.
our government. No,
Ah.
I'm talking. No, most of that still comes through anyway. But heroin's not the problem. Fent is the news headliner.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it makes heroin look
It-
like a fucking cough drop, man.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think what they're going to do is let those cartels know, hey, look, stop with the fent because we know you're working with China. On the fent.
China. I
And
love
the
China.
fent and the meth, all that precursors coming from China. So it's impacting that on the political scale.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
It will bring up the demand, and I think cocaine and heroin are going to be on the come up.
It's an engineered scarcity, yeah.
And
just like
are
the
we looking
fucking
at
mass during COVID.
Yeah. Are we looking at another possible cocaine renaissance like in the 80s?
I do believe there is going to be a cocaine renaissance. Cocaine, heroin renaissance,
cocaine.
because those are, close enough to natural. I mean, they come
Yeah.
from plants.
Compared to fucking fentanyl, it is.
Plus-
yeah.
I mean, it's all completely made up. Like,
I think that drugs that keep you quote unquote on your grind, and I'm not just talking about your teeth, fucking are gonna be probably back on the come up.
yeah, they're back on the come up, and they're, you know what? They're homegrown in Mexico or South America, whatever.
The Gulf of
That nice
America.
heirloom crankville.
Yeah, heirloom crankville. Yeah, maybe they'll start growing ephedra somewhere and fucking cranking out just good old ephedrine, But that is my take on that situation. Again, it's not really
Come in through the gas stations and convenience stores.
politics aside. It will affect some things on that level,
Yeah.
which
You heard it here, folks.
honestly probably good. I think the fent. I don't like the fent. We don't like the fent.
It makes the people fold in half.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah, they don't
look at their
We've all had
shoes.
enough of that.
Yeah, all right. You think about people on heroin back in the day, they had the little nod, but they were chilling and writing jazz music.
They weren't
Yeah.
folding
You
in
know?
half like they're getting ready to cram in themselves into
I
a
don't see
suitcase.
Fent cranking out jazz
No.
music.
No.
But best case scenario,
No junk,
maybe
no soul.
some drill rap every now and then. I don't
Yeah,
fucking
no
know.
good art has come from the fentanyl scene.
Yeah.
No, yeah, heroin's a little like, everybody riding around like John Travolta in fucking Pulp Fiction,
Put on some trumpet music.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why too, because there's no cool media portrayals of fentanyl.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not a one, yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, 'cause-
probably that's a good thing.
There's no William
Yeah,
S.
yeah.
Burroughs for the fentanyl generation.
It really is. Well,
I lost my pencil. I don't know what to do.
so that is a
Can't write.
weird, wild side effect of all the other.
Dude, I bet you're fucking
Yeah.
right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You
I bet
may be.
well, I will reach out to my contacts in that world in a couple weeks and see
But
how
then
they're
again,
see
yeah.
how they're doing.
What with the drones and whatnot, I mean, you can't catch them all.
Well, I mean, you got a bunch of Marines that are fucking. They're like, oh, fuck,
Been
they're
watching
fucking
drug
here.
submarine videos lately, the fucking submarines and how they stick it to the bottom of giant ship holes like container ships, you know?
Well,
Shit.
I was also talking with T Money yesterday, and he's like, it's a good possibility we're going to have special operators going into Mexico soon, which is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah. I've kind of been saying that they should do that for a while now.
Yeah,
but
because all it takes is a group of like 10 fucking special ops
then we
guys.
can rename it the Gulf of America.
And then it'll bring it back to old school cartel days. Because right now the cartel is literally just a bunch of crazy sicarios who are just trying to be the most violent.
Yeah.
It's just a recruitment of a bunch of army low-level
Yeah, they're all on TikTok now making videos of their executions.
But the only people...
No formal training.
If our government comes to an understanding with the businessmen-style cartels like they had in the 70s and 60s, if we
like the Ozark guys?
Yeah, well, not those
the
guys.
High-end,
the real high. I'm thinking more like the old school Ariano Felix organization, stuff like that. Those guys were like the Cali cartel. They were known. The Cali cartel compared to say the Medellin cartel with Pablo.
Yeah,
they were known as the gentleman businessman. They're just like, yeah, we're just moving cocaine, just like it's anything else. No heads are getting cut off. No bullshit. We just want
heads are getting cut off.
We just want to get this cocaine to the gringos. Okay, let us just do our thing.
And the gringos definitely want cocaine.
The gringos want the fucking cocaine.
They're smuggling them in the avocados.
So those are my predictions. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, speaking of predictions, I remember stating a few episodes back that Elon Musk was a Nazi. And a lot of people kind of poo-pooed the idea and scoffed at it, but you know what? He heiled Hitler not once, but twice. And a lot of people don't really know about his family background, but his mother's side, I believe it is.
His dad had the emerald mine.
Yeah, there's that whole
shit.
Yeah. I mean,
from a fine line of bloodline pieces of shit.
Yeah,
aren't they Rhodesian? Yeah, it's
I think
Rhodesians.
So. The whole South Africa connection to the
Afrikaners.
Afrikaners, that's like, dude, up until the 1980s was rife with Nazism in the background, and then
Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah, he's got diplomatic immunity. There's nothing we can do.
Diplomatic immunity.
I would like one Krugerrand.
It's good to have one piece of money from every world or nation, just in case. But yeah, his family on his mother's side, I believe they were Canadian Nazis, which.
What the fuck?
Heil Hitler,
minority upon minority upon minority.
And I think on his dad's side, I believe, I may have this wrong, but his grandfather on his dad's side started a group called the Technocrats, and this is like carried into Musk's like modern perceptions on the world and shit.
Yeah, I'm always big on that technocracy stuff.
Yeah, that's why he like named one of his kids X-7, whatever, you know. So like, they have this weird futurist white utopia brought about by technology fucking ethos in the background.
So you think he did this on purpose? Not just tarding out?
I think it's both.
I think it's
I mean, it's...
I don't know.
I think he got excited.
I think he got excited.
Okay. He knew what he was doing, but he didn't know what he was doing.
And the Anti-Defamation League even came out and said, it was just an awkward pose. That's all it was. Like, damn, Anti-Defamation League. Shouldn't you be all over this?
Our Jewish friend got canceled today for defending him.
Oh, man. So weird.
That's the thing. They're like, well, a lot of people are like, well, he's fucking autistic and obviously fucking weird. And I'm like,
alt-right autistic?
Alt-right autistic, yeah. I mean, it fucking, hey. But I don't know. I really think
the ARA
just
community.
A fucking goober. Like, I think he's just a fucking goober.
Yeah, there's that, definitely. But I mean, it's
he's fucking just always been a mousy weirdo.
Either that or you think his base instinct
of
being
you're talking
a
about
Nazi.
our Jewish friend. I thought you were talking about Musk.
No, I was talking about Musk.
Okay, yeah.
No. Not John.
It's all the other like evidence that adds up and stacks against him too, like following white supremacists on Twitter and shit.
I follow white supremacists on Twitter.
Yeah, but you're doing it for like research.
You're not
You're not upvoting their shit. Or
No. I don't like and subscribe. I mean, I follow, I guess, but I'm not like he's right.
Someone needs to keep
yours
an eye on
is just
these
a supervisory interest at best.
It's like Pete Townsend. I had the research button on.
Really, yeah. I'm observe and report on these things.
Just the evidence is piling up against him, I think, and yes, I do believe that what he did twice.
Yeah, twice. Okay, see, I saw it the first time, and I'm like, nah, he's just hardened out, and it does look like my heart Like, my
Yeah.
heart goes out to you, but he should have had the hand to open palm up, you know? To you.
Hey, Musk.
Not to you.
Yeah. Hey, Musk, which way is the bathroom? Over there.
Yeah.
It's over there.
But then, yeah, when he turned
Our
around and
stocks will rise high.
when he turned around and did it again to the flag, I was like, okay, that does look pretty bad, bro.
Yeah. I just find it also super weird that the Anti-Defamation League like came to his defense also. It's just very weird.
Is he pro? Well, he's. A lot of people brought up a post
I
that
think
he
they were
had.
just trying to get
He's
on
very
get ahead of that.
Well, he's pro-Israel, and he's got a fuckload of money. So, yeah, they're going to be fucking on his side.
You think that like the alt-right
Yep.
Nazi community is like very pro-Israel?
A lot of them are. A lot of them aren't.
They got to have an enemy.
I watch this
Yeah.
shit. Okay.
Yeah.
There is the camp that is very the Christian. Yes, we're with Israel.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just depends on the sect. The younger alt right people,
Yeah.
and that's the real alt right. No, they are not pro-Israel at all. They're not. In fact, a lot of them are really on the whole crusade thing, but teaming up with the Muslims to hate Jews.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, there is some of that.
They're like
So-
there's like the whole Chad jihadi thing, you know, that they're into. So it's there's that, but then there is the ones that are very pro-Israel because of the whole Christian identity type shit.
yeah, serpent seed and all
And
that.
like, but yeah, in general, I think not. They're more. Most of the real alt-right are like no Jews.
Yeah. And this is just endemic of a larger problem in this country in that we tolerate Nazism to a degree now. And I just think if we want to make America great again, quote unquote, we need to go back to the time when America had more goodwill around the world than any other time in history, when we were doing the one thing that we were really fucking good at, and that is killing Nazis. Now, I know that may sound like an extreme position, but these people need to face the consequences of their fucking free speech. You're allowed to say it all you want, but fuck that at the same time.
We're also allowed to fucking
Deck you in the face for
Throw you
being
in
a
a hole.
fucking Nazi piece of shit. So, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what unfolds with this.
The problem with that is everyone's definition of a Nazi now, because a lot of people are calling everyone
true.
a fucking
There is
Nazi.
the
That's
hyperbolic
why,
Nazi.
Exactly. The fucking left.
I'm talking about
the Uber left.
swastika wearing.
The Uber mach. The Nazi left has called everyone a Nazi so much that if you don't agree with any of that shit, you're a
Yeah.
fucking Nazi.
And you can't even say Nazi on YouTube
So,
anymore, which is exactly what Nazis would do.
Yeah.
They're trying to.
Yeah,
that's
fascism.
therein
Yeah.
lies the problem, because we can't even unite over what a Nazi is.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's like it's almost like it's
people have called Jenny McCarthy a Nazi. I mean,
well, she is an Aryan superwoman.
well, I mean, but they called her that for what she said about immunization,
inoculations and
because
shit.
of autism. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Fucking Nazi.
I don't know. This whole thing is just endemic of like our fucking. We're tolerating it now. But yes, it almost seems as if there's maybe a.
I got called a Nazi this morning online.
For what?
Don't.
Because of this Uber left page I follow.
Oh,
It
okay.
was about one of the woman that it said this Trump released the January 6 people, and this police officer had her head bashed in.
Yeah.
And then if you go and click on an article that actually describes it, and this was a CNN left-wing article saying, well, she actually fell down. Nobody bashed her with anything.
Okay.
She fell and hit her head. And it said in this thing, and all I commented
Oh,
was
she
like,
taking a shit or being chased by fucking insurrectionists?
she was a DEI hire that really didn't have a business holding off a goddamn swarm of people. She was not competent for the job she was hired in.
I think none of those people were prepared for that.
Yeah. But anyway, all I said was she literally fell down.
Yeah.
This is misleading. And everyone on there assumed that I was a Trump supporter because I was
Yeah.
pointing out that their left-wing media is just as bad as the right-wing media
Oh, yeah.
by posing things in the way that didn't actually happen.
And I was gonna say,
and
like-
someone called me a Nazi.
It almost seems as if there might be a direct, concentrated effort to water down the phrase or the term Nazi so that people kind of have this idea, maybe. I don't know. I might be doing mental gymnastics on that, but it just, I don't know.
That sounds about right.
It's the whole, like, we don't want to offend the Nazis. We need their votes. Fucking, like, swing vote bullshit that comes in.
No,
play
I
with
think
it.
people really do just throw the term around too loosely.
Yeah, there is that.
There's
I will
good
agree.
Nazis and there's bad Nazis.
There's good Nazis on both sides. So yeah, that's what's weird this week.
Yep.
So The control of Candy Jones by the CIA.
Candy Jones, not Candy Cane. Candy Cane was
Cane.
Candy Cane was the Dallas stripper that worked at Jack Ruby's club.
Oh, yeah.
She's actually on one of Falvo's t-shirts.
Oh, okay.
Tits out.
Put them on the glass.
Biggins.
So, just to give a basic, like, I don't know, foundational understanding of MKUltra, because we talk about it all the time. We've never really, like, got into it. So there is a list. This is one of the sort of documents that officially came out in 77, I believe, during the church committee when there was an investigation into MKUltra. And this was like basically their corporate mandate, for lack of a better word, like what they were trying to do. A 1955 MKUltra document provides a good example of the scope of the effort to understand the effects of mind-altering substances on human beings and list those same substances as follows. And keeping in mind, like, I don't know, if you want to take this one step further, if you're thinking of, like, psychedelic drugs and shamanism, this could also be considered, like, black magic to a degree. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. But, 1, substances which will promote illogical thinking and impulsiveness to the point where the recipient would be discredited in public. And I could totally see that with LSD or some kind of psychedelic, people being dosed without their knowledge.
As portrayed on the season 2, episode 8 of Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, is that?
The guy mushrooms, Sam Losko mushrooms, so he would be discredited during his speech when he was running for Trailer Park Supervisor.
That's right.
I will say none of the stuff that from the Candy book did seem like it was LSD. Seemed like they were using a bunch of other shit.
There were narcotics involved, but they never really say what. They said some names.
Sodium amytal, sodium pentothal, like all old school,
fucking
old school barbiturates and like truth serums.
Datura shit, you know, large doses of LSD, like hundreds, if not thousands of doses.
Candy Jones specifically was mostly hypnosis, and we'll get into that here in just a minute, which has a whole bag of problems
I don't think
as well.
I don't know. I wouldn't. How effective would it be to try to hypnotize someone on LSD?
See, I don't think
I don't think at all.
They had good results. They were just trying it. You know?
With her, I don't think they used LSD on her at all. I think it was all just hard narcotics.
Yeah,
hard narcotics, not psychedelics.
They even refer to it specifically as narco hypnosis.
Yeah,
because it's supposed to aid in the suggestibility department for your target.
It sounds like date rape with extra steps.
Yes.
The 13th step. Let's see. Substances which increase the efficiency of mentation and perception. Materials which will prevent or counteract the intoxicating effect of alcohol, which would be $1 million fucking idea.
Now they have antibuse, which makes you have an anaphylactic response to alcohol, but it doesn't sober you up. It just makes you almost die if you drink alcohol.
Let's see, materials which will promote the intoxicating effect of alcohol, Xanax. Materials which will produce the signs and symptoms of recognized diseases in a reversible way so that they may be used for malingering, etc.
Now, this pill's going to make you look like you got chlamydia, but don't worry. It's all temporary.
Those blisters on your face aren't real. Materials which will render the induction of hypnosis easier or otherwise enhance its usefulness. Substances which will enhance the ability of individuals to
withstand privation.
Torture and coercion during interrogation and so-called brainwashing.
I like that word, privation. That sounds
it sounds a little dirty.
Yeah.
Substances which will enhance the materials and physical methods which will produce amnesia for events preceding and during their use. This is a big thing with Candy Jones. Like, she was basically induced into having amnesia about much of what she did for the CIA.
Yeah, it's like when you mix alcohol, Xanax, and cocaine together.
Yeah.
You just black out for a couple of days.
Yeah, you don't know what the fuck happened.
Reading on it now, it was
I've heard.
Are we still friends?
Amobarbital, Seconal, and Tuinal were all the name brands of this when it was like marketable. And it was like, you think about all the old movies of people just popping the pills. They were called Blue Heavens on the street.
Ooh.
But yeah, they all just get you
You're
fucked
so
up.
hot.
And they were eventually replaced by benzodiazepines.
Yep, okay. Yeah, and you got to also keep in mind the close-knit relationship between the scientific studies wing of MKUltra with our pharmaceutical industry, which has boomed the fuck up since these days. Like, everyone has some kind of, psychiatric malady that can be prescribed.
Dude, there's like 80
for.
different medications that have come out for fucking itchy skin in the past 20 years,
Jeez
in the past
Louise.
like 2 years.
Chemistry.
You know, or psoriasis, I meant, you know, like
Yeah.
there's all
Yeah.
these, like every couple of weeks there's like adalimumab or shit like that. And, you know, it's just like, dude, it may cause death, you know, do
Yeah.
not take if you're allergic to adalimumab, you know, like.
They just need some lotion.
Better dying through chemistry.
Yeah. Is there that many, do they need 20 different types of treatments that'll kill your immune system so
Well,
you
yeah.
don't get a fucking rash
And
on
it's
your
also
elbows?
the corporate competition between brand names as well that like spurs a lot of it on.
All the commercials on Hulu are just random
Victinity.
drugs. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Are there that many people affected by whatever the fuck they're talking
Plaque
about?
cirrhosis.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Sky Rizzy song?
Yeah.
Let's see. Substances which produce physical disablement, such as paralysis of the legs or acute anemia. Substances which will produce pure euphoria with no subsequent letdown.
Could use more of that.
Yeah. Substances which alter personality structure in such a way that the tendency of the recipient to become dependent upon another person is enhanced. This is allegedly what they did to Howard Hughes when he went missing, quote unquote, and he'd already been, you know, wearing tennis or what is it, tissue boxes on his shoes and or on his feet and
Collecting
pissing
his
in
urine.
Yeah, pissing in mason jars. Allegedly, he was absconded away to the Isle of Scorpios, owned by fucking Aristotle Onassis, and deliberately hooked on heroin so that he would become dependent to their will. Let's see.
Well, I mean, he was
I
in a
mean,
lot of
I
plane
could
crashes and got
see-
addicted to opiates.
I could see
Yeah,
a heroin addict like if you make it to where he can only get the dope from you. I
Yeah.
mean, you could really fucking put a number on somebody.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. All I have to do is make him make a phone call and fucking.
There was a
just
time
keep
in
him
my life where I
perpetually
was
sick
very
and fucked up. You know,
oped
like,
out and locked in an apartment, and I didn't have tissue boxes on my feet, but my OCD did flare up. Like I'm not really OCD. I'm more anal.
You
I
were
think
rat hunting.
I think I'm dying. Well, that was a different night. That was cocaine involved.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, during like the opiate, my height of my like deep entrenched opiate addiction, my I wouldn't call it OCD, but my analness, like definitely
glands.
got where I was just all I would do is want to keep things clean. I didn't want to touch shit.
Yeah.
I didn't want filthy things.
Yeah, you were spraying
Except-
down your whole house with rubbing alcohol all the time.
Yeah. Except for that filthy black tar. I didn't mind
yeah.
that one.
Oh God! See, I never used needles, but I'd sniff it, and I got a fucking staph infection in my nose from sniffing the shit.
I would
So,
stay up
yes,
for
it's
like 2
filthy.
nights, like redecorating my apartment. You know, when I was sniffing that shit, like, and then if I sat down to smoke a cigarette, I would nod out. But then I would just stay up all night, you know, on my feet.
I'd get the creative jags, like
Yeah.
Miles Davis.
Yeah.
I'm like Miles Davis, basically.
Yeah, my
I'm
little
like
apartment
Miles
was
Davis. Anyway,
Let's see. Substances which will lower the ambition and general working efficiency of men when administered in undetectable amounts. Substances which promote weakness or distortion of the eyesight or hearing faculties, preferably without permanent effects. So you can basically temporarily
make them blind without making them blind.
confrostigate someone. A knockout pill, speaking of confrostigation, which can surreptitiously be administered in drinks, food, cigarettes, aerosol, etc., which will be safe to use, provide a maximum of amnesia, and be suitable for use by agent types on an ad hoc basis.
Yeah, I work
Date
for
rape
the
drugs.
cigarette drug department for the CIA. We find all kinds of drugs you can put in cigarettes.
One of Chesterfield. Material which can be surreptitiously administered by the above routes and which in very small amounts will make it impossible for a man to perform any physical activity whatsoever. I would say, once again, date
Like
rape drugs. probably.
Antidepressants. Can't get it
Yeah. Or depressants. In other words, when it came to mind manipulation more than a half a century ago, the CIA already has all the bases covered. Now, some of the stuff we're going to talk about, I'm throwing in a disclaimer here for legal purposes. Maybe not legal purposes, but some of this stuff, there's people who claim to be, you know, the victims of Monarch mind control.
Very
and
real to them.
Yeah,
from what I've
exactly.
heard.
So, and I don't doubt that some of these people have been through horrible shit. It would be, however, negligent on our part to take everything at face value. So we're looking into it a little bit, but basically, I'm going to say I think most of the, especially Project Monarch stuff, is a crock of shit. Most of these people are, how to put it, they're referencing each other's material as like footnotes,
Yeah.
but nobody has a original source on any of this
Yeah.
shit except for like a talk given by a hypnotist and a
Then you got
psychotherapist.
the stuff, the true stuff. You know, I mean, that was
Yeah.
you know, that mushroom farm incident. You know, like
Yeah.
So I mean, there is. I really think a lot of terrible things happen to a lot of people.
The Franklin scandal. I mean, we'll get into a couple
Yeah.
incidents, and we'll talk about one celebrity in particular.
But there also just was a time in this world where being sexually, satanically
being a man.
advantaged of and putting out a book about it was really, really hot.
Exactly. So we can't take everything at face value. We have to look into this. But I also think that
Do your
some
own
of
research.
some of this Project Monarch mind control / trauma induced dissociative identity disorder, things like that. Like, I do believe that some of these people have been subjected to horrible shit. But once again, we have to look deeply into this because extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So there's also what I believe, seeing as we're dealing with hypnotists a lot. I mean, how often do you go to a hypnotist? How often are hypnotists being paid to do hypnotism? Fucking like to quit smoking, to quit overeating.
Do they still do that?
I know a guy who quit smoking after one session with a hypnotist. I mean, it's probably his own belief in the fact that it was working.
Been
But
20 years and I still think I'm a chicken.
I didn't even really get to. So, hypnotizing is real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll got to get into some of the finer points
I
on that
figure,
as
I mean, 'cause
well.
you
well, there's a lot of
you can fuck with people's
flim-flam,
brains pretty
shim
Yeah.
sham.
There's so much flim
Yes.
flam. That's why I'm like, it's a little real, it's a little not real.
Yeah,
you know?
like with the inclusion of alien abductions and then all this like Project Monarch mythos of mind control, like I could see a couple of hypnotists sitting around and coming up with a way to basically further their business interests in and it's always the bottom line, I think.
I don't
money,
think it was,
money.
If it was, I think it was more of a yes anding type situation where they realized, that happened. That not a
And in order to deprogram
not a let's
you,
all conspire. All right, look, we're all gonna say that these people were fucking
sort of a happy accident.
Yeah, it was a happy accident.
Well, for them.
But yeah, it was improv.
Yeah. Like,
And it just worked out for them, and they're all like, "Oh, it worked for them."
Yeah, because it's like, okay, well, in order to deprogram you, quote unquote, or whatever, we're gonna have to, I'm gonna need to book you for like 3 sessions a week for the next fucking 20-something years.
Yeah.
So you have this monetary side of it, and once again, always check the
keep
money.
them thinking that you keep them on the right path to thinking that they need more sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I need you to sign this non-disclosure agreement so I can keep the rights to this.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking, I get media rights. You get 3/4 of publishing.
Yeah.
And also, you have tons of doctors and hypnotists who I'm sure are.
And this is a second situation where the hypnotist was married. To the person they're extracting,
or the deprogrammer,
or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah,
where the person's just like married to the person they're doing this work on.
And in a weird way, the person that they're involved with romantically, or in that deprogrammer situation, essentially becomes their new quote unquote handler.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically, to have you're just switching one control for another, basically, and that's what seems is going on in these stories. So, but yeah, getting into Candy Jones, can you go down from the bar there? Let's see. Candy Jones had been America's most famous model during the 40s. Her photographs graced the cover of, that's supposed to be 100 magazines, I think.
One Eye magazines?
11 magazines, that's
go,
probably what it was. With a single month in 1943. She and Betty Grable constituted World War II's most potent pinup team.
Yeah, and Betty Grable, that's a weird fucking wild rabbit hole to go down too.
Oh, I
buddy.
bet.
I don't know
Real
nothing about
weird.
her. I just know I've heard her name on Lucy.
Photos of Candy in a white bathing suit with coral dots had been affixed to the corrugated walls of Quonset huts throughout the South Pacific, promising better things to thousands of GIs once the battle was won. She traveled extensively throughout the war zone, her presence an injection of stateside softness into the reality of a hard war. In 1946, Candy married one of the leaders of the American modeling field, Harry Conover, originator of the cover girl concept, with a matching investment of $500 from a young male model who was also his roommate, later President of the United States, Gerald Ford. See? And also, this is essentially the story to Zoolander. I'm sure we've kind of touched on this at some point in another episode, but
Hansel.
yeah, the whole idea of models being used as unwitting brainwashed couriers or assassins or what have you.
Well, because they are very pretty.
Yeah.
They travel a lot.
They can get into...
And they are around the elite peoples.
Yeah.
The guys that are really running the things want to keep the hottest, most famous chick around. So it makes sense.
It's a status symbol as well as just accessibility.
Yes.
So
It's like Tesla's.
This guy, Harry Conover, who basically gave her first modeling gig, they would eventually get married, and he would make remarks such as, I like your boyish frame, or your large breasts disgust me.
Yeah.
And it would later turn out that he
liked wieners.
Yeah, he was playing both sides of the field, apparently. Because she said that the only time they'd been intimate through their, I think it was like 25-year marriage, maybe.
For their kids. And,
3 kids.
When he was drunk.
Yeah, that too. Let's see. Candy managed to pull together the pieces of a broken marriage and a financially drained business and forge a new life for herself and her 3 young sons. She created a corporation of her own using the power of her name and reputation to get them moving. She entered the broadcasting field and became a fixture on NBC's network weekend radio service, Monitor. She devoted great amounts of time to charitable causes, was a familiar sight at Broadway openings and cabaret first nights, and maintained her close association with the leaders of show business, politics, and the military establishment.
The who's who.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Candy's new husband, Long John Nebel,
Long John.
was New York's most successful radio talk show
Real
host.
name Zimmerman.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that part either.
I had to do some digging.
Yeah.
They call me Long John Zimmerman.
That's a cooler sounding name, actually, than Nebel. He'd reigned for 20 years in the midnight till dawn slot. His caustic, strident voice is familiar to Manhattan's night people as sirens, honking horns, and gunshots. 6 feet 4 inches tall and as slender as a model. He glided through his nocturnal world, shrouded in controversial topics.
Wait, Nebel is Jones.
Nebel is Zimmerman. Zimmerman's Nebel. An extensive wardrobe of fine clothes. He was pale. He slept when the sun was up. Even his hair seemed colorless. An imposing figure in an imposing city.
Gray mofo.
Yeah, the gray man. Now you're thinking like Albert Fish. Nebel began his radio career at the age of 43 when WOR, the Mutual Network's New York flagship station, gave Nebel the all-night show. The time slot was known as a hopeless graveyard for announcers, but Long John built it into a lucrative program with a fanatically loyal following. 8 years later, after money hassles with WOR's management, he moved to WNBC and lowered Nebel at midnight. Throughout his radio career, Nebel had pioneered in opening the airways to controversy. Possessing only an 8th grade education, he brought... Oh, my God. Okay.
What?
Yeah. He brought with him to broadcasting an extensive background in selling.
Bet he's soft on the homeless.
This, along with an insatiable intellectual curiosity, enabled him to generate real excitement on electricity 6 hours a night, 6 nights a week. His interests and the subjects he dealt with were as varied as his backgrounds. Jazz, flying saucers, psychiatry, law, ESP, the circus, gold, internal medicine, and, perhaps most important to this story, hypnosis. Let's see. John and Candy met in 1941 when he was working as a freelance photographer.
John Candy.
That's the way you put them together. That's their couple
God
name.
love him.
It's like William H. Macy and what's her name?
Macy Gray.
Felicity Huffman. You put them together, they're William H. Muffman. Nebel's many friends bemused at his decision to marry again. They were unanimous in their favorable response to Candy, however. Her natural, guileless beauty and unaffected, warm personality captivated her husband-to-be's assortment of confidants without exception. This writer included. This writer is Donald Bain, the man who wrote the book, The C.I.A.'s Control of Candy Jones, which is our primary source for this. She was without the pretense one associates with models, nor, though a tall woman, was she willowy. Graceful model type, in fact. She occasionally displayed a disarming awkwardness. Her personality was self-effacing. I have good bones, was her embarrassed answer to well-meaning praise of her beauty, and a nervous laugh was generally added to soften even that comment.
I think it was
Some
the
good
big
ones and some bad
I think it
ones,
was
probably.
the big round tits. That
Yeah,
were really
that too.
The,
She was
the catcher.
quite well endowed. Let's see. Stranger yet was the change that came over Candy as champagne was poured into silver goblets and finger sandwiches were passed among the guests by uniformed waiters at their wedding. As Nebel described it in retrospect, something happened that I can't really put into words. You'd have to have known Candy as I did to notice the change in her. She developed an expression on her face that wasn't candy, at least not the candy I'd come to love.
It was the finger sandwiches. That's where they put the mind control drugs.
Yeah, right? Them lady fingers. Let's see. I'd never seen that expression before. Tense, angry, concerned. I asked her if anything was wrong, and she gave me a curt no. So this also kind of plays into some of the others. Yeah, exactly. Like, the whole reason that this whole
She seemed
story...
pissed off. I don't know. She was yammering about something. I wasn't really paying attention.
Wasn't really paying attention.
Said something about me.
I just decided to hypnotize her, and that's where all this started. And also keep in mind that Long John Neville... Well, we'll get into it. Hold on. I couldn't believe...
John Zimmerman. LJZ.
I couldn't believe it was the same woman. I was upset to see her that upset. I chalked it up to the tension of the moment. I'd worked professionally as a musician, had played at hundreds of weddings. Invariably, brides are tense and often become angry at insignificant details. At any rate, as she chatted with Neville's friends, a tension, covert and unstated, became evident. Nothing major, nothing definitive, simply there. When it was time for the guests to leave, Candy and John stood at the door and bade gracious farewells to each person as he or she departed from the opulent apartment and prepared to go out into the unusually warm and hazy December day. Some of us would be joining the bride and groom that evening at Ho Ho, the Chinese restaurant where Neville annually held court on New Year's Eve as a gesture to a longtime sponsor and his listeners.
Court. Everybody just come around and listen to me tell stories.
Yeah, I'm lording. Let's see. John and Candy Neville were a strikingly handsome couple as they stood side by side at the door. There was no question that Neville was a happy man at that moment. And there was no reason to question whether Candy shared his pleasure. But a larger and more tantalizing question might have been asked, had the events that were to take place in the ensuing months and years been known to the gathered well-wishers? Simply put, that question was the woman at John Neville's side really Candy Jones? Eventually, they would start talking during their honeymoon, and this would kind of evolve into over time, like Candy saying
Wouldn't they
that...
be banging on their honeymoon? I mean...
Well, they did that too, but this sort of happened in between because he had to go back to work pretty soon, and she's having all these like weird flip personality type moments or whatever, where she just, in Long John Neville's words, start acting like a real bitch. And he does not mince words about a lot of that stuff.
She stopped responding to slaps in the face.
But she ended up saying that there's something maybe I should tell you. What's that? It's just something that I never even thought was worth mentioning, but maybe it is. There are times when I might have to take a trip. For what? John asked. Oh, to give a lecture or something like that. John said, I'm not sold on that idea. He expanded on his negative reaction to her announcement. Candy listened patiently to his protests, and when he was finished, she stood up and leaned against the bookcases that lined the wall of the bedroom. John, there's more to it than just giving a lecture. She told him briefly and simply that she had in the past done some work for one of our government's agencies. Some of her travels had to do with that work. Let's see, Neville lit a cigarette and questioned her about what she just said. She seemed willing to answer
1940s.
very. She seemed willing to answer his questions and told him that after her divorce from Harry Conover in 1959, she'd been approached by, allegedly, the FBI. What did you do for them? Very little, she said. They used my offices as a mail drop, and I carried a few messages for them. This actually came about through an association with a boxer named... Do you remember that boxer's name? The one who had the office across from her?
I do not remember.
I don't know. He was a famous boxer.
I thought he was a boxing...
Haystacks Calhoun.
Well, he became a promoter. He was more of a promoter, I think, at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a lot of people coming and going.
Frederick Tatum.
He wasn't a big name.
Confrostigating.
He wasn't like a big name that like resonates through history. He was just somebody famous at the time.
His office had people coming and going at all times, which was across from across the hall from Candy's office. So she would like leave the door open and see people just coming and going all the time. And apparently his office was burgled one night.
Burgled!
And some money and some files disappeared. And then it wasn't long after that a man named Ted, allegedly from the FBI, showed up and...
The man known simply as Ted.
Yeah, dark, scary Ted. He noticed that Candy had like a lot of new surveillance type equipment that she was using to watch the models from her office. And this Ted guy was like, hey, can I borrow this camera? So he ends up sort of borrowing the camera from her for use for official FBI business, quote unquote. And this sort of, from there on, spurned a sort of working relationship between Candy and this Ted fella.
A gradual kind of grooming, essentially, to see how far she would do, what she would do.
Yeah.
And even as she said it, as like a patriotic thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm helping the country, the government, for
the war against communism.
War against commies. Whatever. And this was, what, the 59? 60,
I think it was early 60s.
Early 60s, okay. Yeah, because she modeled through the 40s to the 50s, started the school, and then ran the school for many years successfully.
Yeah, and she...
Semi-successfully.
Yeah, she had business problems with the school, so she was also getting paid to do these little, like, odds and ends and, chores for the government, basically. And so it was playing on her patriotism, but also her need for money.
She specifically said, it was said that she said in the book, that she specifically was like, well, yeah, I want to do it, but I also need some fucking money. I got 3 kids in private school.
Yeah.
So, make it worth my while.
Yep. And so that's where, from then on, she was sort of, directed to, like, hey, some letters are going to come through your office since you guys get a lot of mail. So they're going to be, addressed to this name or this, address, and just separate them from your shit, and we'll come get them. And we just need to use your office as sort of a outside post. This is very, very CIA centric kind of tactic where it's all outsourcing.
Yes.
So you have the plausible deniability
and using people.
Yes, exactly.
Because if they have
assets,
it also creates the fact that person they really don't know that much. So there's not just your plausible deniability and separating you as the handler or the agent or whatever. You're also using this person who really doesn't know what they're doing. So they have actual deniability and really can't snitch if they get caught.
Right. And that extrapolates into what this whole story is about, basically. So Nebel, Long John Nebel, a.k.a. Zimmerman, was kind of a proto-Alex Jones, in other words, a bit of an asshole and a blustering, blubbering,
was he an Alex? He was
bullshit artist.
I would say, yeah, probably.
Nice onomatopoeia.
From what I didn't see, I didn't look up or didn't get a chance to look up any of his actual. Are there any like his old radio shows recorded?
I don't know. I couldn't find it.
That might be fun to check out.
I'm sure they're out there though. They've got to at least be in the WNBC.
Because at first I was thinking, oh, maybe this dude had his own like kind of coast to coast thing. But now that you put it after reading, sometimes. I'm like, no, it sounds like was an Alex Jones.
Yeah, like or maybe I could see actually maybe not Alex Jones, maybe Bill Maher is probably
not the body, not the body Lowry, but the body we were just talking Jesse Ventura.
Oh, Jesse Ventura. Yeah.
Not as cool as Jesse Ventura.
not as cool as
muscular.
Not a sexual fucking tyrannosaur.
Not that body. So Candy shifts in mood that had to so upset John. They were still occurring, although never with enough regularity or intensity to create an open rift between them. They were both extremely busy and saw little of past friends. According to Nebel, the only real anxiety in their lives at that juncture was the result of Candy's worsening insomnia. So from that point, this is where Nebel is like, okay, well, I mean, if you're having trouble sleeping, maybe I can hypnotize you, which they start doing, and it becomes a fucking
trouble
routine.
Sleeping, hypnotize.
Yeah, exactly.
Itchy rash, hypnotize.
Execute him. So he knew that his friends in the medical profession who practice hypnosis frowned upon anyone dabbling in the science without solid medical grounding. He also knew that unless a hypnotist deliberately used the trance to accomplish mischief, as they put it in the book, as his friend Dr. Herbert Spiegel, psychiatrist and associate professor at Columbia University, College of Physicians and Surgeons, prefers to term it, or little harm could befall a subject. The situation of the moment was certainly conducive to a successful trance induction. Candy was and is a suggestible person, and much of her business failure resulted from this personality trait. She had a great faith in her husband, an extremely helpful requisite for anyone practicing hypnosis. The scientific community prefers to call hypnotists operators, but the term hypnotist will be used throughout most of the book. And I find it also weird that they do prefer the term operators, because that has intelligence agency written all over it as far as I'm concerned.
Operator is now more the tactical, the guys, the special guys. Those are operators. The guys that come in with fucking night vision goggles in the middle of the night and fucking brain, black bag and brain people.
Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Bin Laden in a body bag.
The guys that are going to be going after the cartels soon.
Yeah. Let's see. Such was the case with an age regression experienced by Candy and recorded by John over the many months of their adventures with hypnosis. He kept audio recordings of all these sessions in a medical setting in which a physician uses age regression as part of this treatment strategy. There is a more structured approach, one in which the physician, usually a psychiatrist, applies very specific techniques and principles in order to direct the patient's flow of regression in an attempt to reach repressed memories considered vital by the doctor. To do it properly at this stage would take exorbitant amounts of time and money, said Dr. Spiegel. It would have to be done over a prolonged period of time and may or may not be fruitful. Yeah. And to do a brief sampling regression with Candy would prove nothing. Any outside professional hypnotist would probably recover much the same material, valid and invalid, that has already come out and been recorded by John.
Yeah, let's spend $40 billion in 10 years on this.
Yes, exactly.
See if something happens. Who knows?
Get the insurance companies involved and everything. Let's see. Neville repeated the experience the following morning after they'd returned from WNBC, and again after a few days. It was on this third attempt that he encountered something more than simple progressive relaxation, however. During this third session, Candy began talking in a strange voice. Not the harsh, grating voice of the other person, quote-unquote, that had jarred Neville on his wedding night and on subsequent occasions, but that of a child. She engaged in an imaginary dialogue with an unnamed person, and Neville, acting on instinct, slipped into the verbal role of that other person. He was interested and wanted to learn more in case it should happen again, and it did. Candy's next regression to childhood occurred on June 15th, 1973. Okay, 1970s. By that time, a series of non-childhood regressions far more dramatic and bizarre had occurred.
She was probably in her 50s by then.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, because she won Miss Atlantic City when she was like 16 years old, when 16-year-olds could still win.
Yeah, my mom's mom was a big-time model.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pageant queen.
Yeah, and this was in the 40s, yeah.
Candy laughed that...
Huh?
The real triangle.
Yeah, she actually got some, like, the first iteration of breast implants.
Oh, that's right.
Way back in the day, yeah.
Candy...
Still has them.
Nice. Candy laughed at all this, and she said, those were all just dreams. I wasn't hypnotized. I can't be hypnotized. But soon, Long John Neville would meet, quote-unquote, Arlene, and many new revelations would come to light. Candy, a.k.a. Arlene, would turn out to be a hypnotically induced amnesiac courier for the CIA who traveled throughout Southeast Asia during the vast majority of the Vietnam War, delivering sensitive info and quite possibly large sums of illicit funds to CIA contacts, all while under the mental conditioning and programming of her handler, Mr. Dr. Gilbert Jensen, who also introduced the use of various narcotics into her many hypnotic programming sessions.
Vitamins.
Yeah, vitamin shots. And allegedly subjected her to torture for the benefit or sometimes purely the entertainment of his company superiors.
So he sends this woman with valuable intelligence and possibly duffel bags full of fucking Vietnamese cash all through Vietnam as a 6'4" blonde Amazonian woman in a sea of 5'5" people.
I think also...
And is she supposed to blend in somehow? And like that's the best choice as a 6'4"
that's the thing.
woman?
Yeah. She's not supposed to blend in.
Yeah.
But who suspects the big-titted tall woman?
Yeah.
Do you think she's a spy? No.
It would warrant some investigation if you saw that.
I know me as a 5'5" man, I would just be like, dang.
I'd like to climb that.
No offense, by the way, buddy.
Yeah, I'd like to climb that.
No,
I'm not thinking, she's spy. She's spy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I could.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We had Chinese last night.
Bleepity bleep bleep bleep.
And I got into the
I was watching A Christmas Story. It's
voice
fine.
acting.
Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. La, la, la.
Only I didn't say fudge. I said the word, the big one, the queen mother of dirty words, the F dash 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 word.
What did you say?
Fuck! So there are claims for and against the veracity of the Candy Jones story. Now, we mentioned that Long John Zimmerman was a sort of Alex Jones, Bill Maher type dude, Jesse Ventura, etc. There is the idea that this all could have been a concocted story for ratings, essentially.
No shit.
Something to just put on the show. During hypnosis sessions, an alternate personality called Arlene was reportedly groomed by a Dr. Gilbert Jensen. So
I need to speak to Arlene. Is
Yeah.
Arlene in there right now, Candy?
There is no Arlene. There is only Zool. So Jones would have no memory of Arlene's activities. Jones allegedly made trips to locations as far away as Taiwan. While hypnotized, Jones claimed that she was subjected to painful torture in order to test the effectiveness of the alternate personality. Donald Bain, the author of the CIA's Control of Candy Jones, said Jones would be a messenger for the agency in conjunction with her normal business trips. So she had the cover every time, basically.
Yeah.
Again, with the USO, Jones visited South Vietnam in 1970. She later suspected her visit had some connections to a disastrous attempt to free American prisoners of war from North Vietnam. Jones and Nebel's claims were first made public in 1976 in the book, The Control of Candy Jones. And Nebel apparently accepted his wife's claims and openly discussed killing Dr. Jensen in revenge. However, Nebel was a prankster and a hoaxer of long standing, and he was not above hoaxing his radio audience. Some doubted the recovered memories of Candy Jones' past were genuine. Several years later, Jones' story gained more notice after the public disclosure of MKULTRA in 1977. Bain reported that associates in Jones' modeling schools asserted that Jones indeed had some puzzling absences, supposed business trips where little or no business seemed to be conducted. Bain also writes that another piece of evidence came forth when Candy inadvertently held onto a passport of Arlene Grant, her other personality. And it was a picture of Candy in a dark wig with dark makeup, essentially. Jones says she had no memory of dressing in such an outfit or for posing for a passport in a different name. Bain also claimed that a tape-recorded message on an answering machine was left on Jones and Nebel's home telephone number on July 3rd, 1973. It said,
This is Japan Airlines calling on 03 July at 4:10 p.m. Please have Miss Grant call 759-9100. Don't you love back when phone numbers were only 7 digits?
Yeah.
She is holding a reservation on Japan Airlines Flight 5 for the 6th of July, Kennedy to Tokyo, with an option on to Taipei. This is per Cynthia that we are calling.
Now, when Jones telephoned the number to ask for Cynthia, she was told that no one of that name worked at the reservations desk. Additionally, a guy named Brian Houghton notes that there was also a letter Jones wrote to her attorney, William Williams.
Yeah.
Sounds made up.
William.
Billy!
Billy Williams, to cover herself in case she died or disappeared suddenly or under unusual circumstances. She told him that she was not at liberty to reveal exactly what she was involved in, and Bain wrote to Williams, who corroborated this. Bain also notes that in 1971, an article by hypnosis expert George Estabrooks, who, if you're into MKUltra lore, that guy is one of the evil arch overlords of a lot of this shit, published in Science Digest, wherein Estabrooks openly discussed the successful creation of amnesiac couriers of the type Jones claimed to have been. Dr. Herbert Spiegel, the guy who wrote the foreword and talked to Long John Nebel as a friend about hypnosis, wrote the foreword. Oh, yeah, whatever. Okay.
By the way, Dr. Herbert Spiegel,
Yeah.
insane pussy hound. Yeah.
I'm sure he's covered in juice, man.
Oh, did you look him up?
Expert bongo player.
Yeah. knee deep in beautiful women. Yeah.
So this is where we're going to kind of get into the Project Monarch shit. This is one of the most popular articles ever published on this shit. Now, this appeared in like Paranoia magazine, etc. A lot of other reprints. This comes from the book.
I want Paranoia magazine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have a couple old back issues. This was published in the book So Long and Thanks for All the Memories by Bryce Taylor, who is another woman that claims she very much had the same thing happen to her as Kathy O'Brien and Candy Jones. However, like we said earlier, Kathy O'Brien and Bryce Taylor's stories are essentially filled with deviant sex with high-ranking politicians and celebrities. Bryce Taylor personally was allegedly the personal sex bot of Bob Hope, and who was the other guy? Henry Kissinger. So this article, Project Monarch, Nazi Mind Control, is written by Ron Patton, and it goes like this. Like to hear it, here it go. Amidst the subtle cerebral circumvention of the gullible populace throughout a multitude of manipulated mediums lies one of the most diabolical atrocities perpetrated upon a segment of the human race, a form of systematic mind control which has permeated every aspect of society for almost 50 years. And this was written in 1992, I believe, resolving the philosophical question of whether we are inherently good or inherently evil is tantamount in shaping our perception of reality, specifically the spiritual variable within the equation of life. Someone else?
Okay, I'm ready.
Thank you.
This exposition is substantiated by declassified U.S. government documents, individuals formerly connected to the U.S. intelligence communities, historical researchers knowledgeable in mind control, publications from mental health practitioners, and interviews taken from survivors unwittingly suggested to the highly complex form of trauma-based mind control known as Monarch programming. A word of caution for survivors of intensely systematic mind control and or some form of ritualized abuse. There are numerous triggers in this article, so be warned.
Oh, watch out.
It is therefore
Dangerous.
recommended not to read it unless appropriate support systems are in place or if you have a thoroughly reintegrated personality.
A brief history of control. The mystery religions of ancient Egypt, Greece, India, and Babylon helped lay the foundation for occultism, meaning hidden knowledge. One of the earliest writings giving reference to occultism is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, a compilation of rituals explicitly describing methods of torture and intimidation to create trauma, the use of potions or drugs, and the casting of spells, aka hypnotism.
Christing.
Do you even know what Christing is?
Oh, shit. Gotta eat that seed, man. Ultimately resulting in the total enslavement of the initiate. These have been the main ingredients for a part of occultism known as Satanism throughout the ages.
Christ your eyes so that you may see.
You may have the eyes to see.
Did y'all, real quick
I haven't
aside,
watched that one yet.
I only got
I
to
did.
start it. I didn't
Yeah.
get to finish
It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still pretty good.
I just like his the imagery he used with he wore the Pope hat and the candles. And it's like
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
dude.
it was
Dr. Amon Hillman. Check him out
I
if
really
you never-
like him, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
the Anglo Alliance.
During the 13th century, the Roman Catholic Church increased and solidified its dominion throughout Europe with the infamous Inquisition.
Bad times
Yeah.
for non-Catholics.
According to this
I think it was a
author-
bad time for Catholics too.
Yeah, for everybody involved, really.
Everybody in Europe wasn't doing great around then.
According to this author, Satanism survived this period of persecution, deeply entrenching itself under the veil of various esoteric groups. In 1776, a Bavarian Jesuit by the name of Adam Weishaupt was commissioned by the House of Rothschild to centralize the power base of the mystery religions into what is commonly known as the Illuminati, meaning the enlightened ones. This was an amalgamation of powerful occultic bloodlines, elite secret societies, and influential Masonic fraternities with a desire to construct the framework for a new world order. The outward goal of this utopia was to bring forth universal happiness to the human race. However, their underlying intention was to gradually increase control over the masses, thus becoming masters of the planet.
The best laid plans, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Would you like to read the Anglo Alliance?
I sure will.
Looking at you.
The Anglo Alliance. By the 19th century, Great Britain and Germany were recognized as the primary geographic areas of Illuminati control. Oh, yeah. It then should be a little surprised to know the first work in behavioral science research was established in England in 1882, while much of the early medieval and psychiatric techniques involved in mind control were pioneered at the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Germany.
Institute?
The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations was set up in London in 1921 to study the breaking point of humans.
Hey, is there a
Quote,
good
unquote.
institute anywhere?
Kurt Lewin, a German psychologist, became the director of the Tavistock Institute in 1932. About the same time, a certain group of guys in Germany was increasing its research into neuropsychology,
a real
parapsychology,
hotbed,
and multi-generational occultism. Interestingly, a progressive exchange of scientific ideas was taking place between England and Germany, most notably in the field of eugenics. Yes. The movement devoted to improving the human species through the control of hereditary factors in mating. Yeah, I mean, you get a pit bull with you get one of them pit bulls with a big fucking head, and then you get the other pit bull with a big fucking head, and you make them fuck. Then you're gonna have a bunch of baby pit bulls with big fucking heads, man.
I mean, on paper, you know,
they could fight real good, but I haven't raised my babies because they're just real little baby. They're cuddlers,
I'm gonna teach this one to hate.
Yeah.
Insert ethnic group. Man, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that phrase, I'd have like $3 to $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hate dogs.
We live in the South. So.
The nefariously enigmatic union between the two countries was bonded partly through the Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society which consisted of many high-ranking officials in the Nazi Party and the British aristocracy.
Top SS Nazi officer Heinrich Himmler, a.k.a. Heine, was in charge of a scientific project called Lebensborn, which included selective breeding and adoption of children, a peculiarly large number of twins among them.
Wait, did they actually call him Heine?
Hitler called him Heine.
Yeah.
Yeah. My little Heine.
My sweet Heine.
My sweet, smelly Heine.
My precious boy Heine.
The purpose of the program was to create a super race, a.k.a. Aryans, who would have total allegiance to the cause of the Third Reich or New Order. Much of the preliminary experimentation concerning genetic engineering and behavior modification was conducted by Dr. Josef Mengele
The
in
Angel
Auschwitz.
of Death.
Yes, where he coldly analyzed the effects of trauma bonding, eye coloring, and quote-unquote twinning upon his victims. Besides the insidious surgical experimentation performed at the concentration camps, some of the children were subjected to massive amounts of electroshock. Sadly, many of them did not survive the brutality. Concurrently, brainwashing was carried out on inmates at Dachau who were placed under hypnosis and given the hallucinogenic drug mescaline. Jesus Christ! Ugh.
Oh, could you imagine?
Jesus. Ugh. During the war, parallel behavioral research was led by Colgate University. Yep, that Colgate.
The toothpaste people, right?
Yeah.
Dr. George Estabrooks, as mentioned earlier, of his involvement with the Army, C.I.A., FBI, and other agencies remains shrouded in secrecy. However, Estabrooks would occasionally slip and discuss his work involving the creation of hypno-program couriers and hypnotically induced split personalities.
Oops, I said too much.
I see nothing. After World War II, the U.S. Department of Defense secretly imported many of the top German, Nazi, and Italian fascist scientists and spies into the United States via South America and the Vatican. The rat lines. It's true. Look it up. The code name for this operation was Project Paperclip.
On the cool, I haven't heard much about the Italian scientists brought over.
Yeah. And also, allegedly...
well, they were in with the Nazis.
Well, I Spencer, I know that part, but... I really just...
the Nazis took the credit, though, is what I'm saying. That's why you don't hear about the...
Well, yeah. And I think there was also some Japanese scientists as well.
I mean, were the Italian scientists just working on a better meatball or what?
Hey, bippity boppity.
Zing!
That's
you eat the meatball and then you become the slave.
Yeah.
Mind control meatballs.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the more prominent finds for the U.S. was German General Reinhard Gehlen, Hitler's chief of intelligence against Russia. Upon arriving in Washington, D.C. in 1945, Gehlen met extensively with President Truman, General William Wild Bill Donovan, director of the Office of Strategic Services, or OSS, and Allen Dulles, who would later become the stalwart head of the CIA. The objective of their brainstorming sessions was to reorganize the nominal American intelligence operation, transforming it into a highly efficient covert organization. The culmination of their efforts produced the Central Intelligence Group in 1946, renamed the Central Intelligence Agency in 1947. Reinhard Gehlen also had profound influence in helping to create the National Security Council, from which the National Security Act of 1947 was derived. A lot of New World Order conspiracy theorists make a lot of hay about this National Security Act of 1947 because allegedly we've been in a suspended state of emergency since then. So executive powers can basically run amok and do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, but then they don't. So
yeah,
they do, but they not really. Not to the level that they're claiming that would.
Right. This particular piece of legislation was implemented to protect an unconscionable number of illegal government activities, including clandestine mind control programs.
I'll read.
Yeah.
Evolution of Project MK-ULTRA. With the CIA and National Security Council firmly established, the first in the series of covert brainwashing programs was initiated by the Navy in the fall of 1947. Project Chatter was developed in response to the Soviet successes through the use of truth drugs. And to me, this was all keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. You know, the Russians were doing it, so we had to do it too.
Got to close the mind control gap.
Yeah. This rationale, however, was simply a cover story if the programs were to be exposed. The research focused on the identification and testing of such drugs for use in interrogation and recruitment of agents. The project was officially terminated in 1953. Officially.
Yeah. Officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The CIA decided to expand their efforts in the area of behavior modification with the advent of Project Bluebird, approved by director Alan Dulles in 1950. Its objectives were to 1. Discover a means of conditioning personnel to prevent unauthorized extraction of information from them by known means. 2. Investigate the possibility of control of an individual. Fuck. 3. Investigate memory enhancement by application of special interrogation techniques. And 4. Establish defensive means for preventing hostile control of agency personnel. Take it, someone else.
Wait,
You
right there.
Yeah.
All right. In August 1951, Project Bluebird was renamed Project Artichoke. Who names this shit? Which
Just
evaluated.
have a dartboard. They just throw a dart and whatever.
Looking around. Oh, look at a blue bird out the window.
Open the dictionary. Yeah.
What am I having for lunch today? Fucking artichoke. Which evaluated.
A delicious lunch.
Yeah. Artichoke for lunch? What the fuck? What do you?
Artichokes anytime, baby. Dip them in mayonnaise.
Ooh. Oily.
We'll go back to that later.
We're going to revisit that.
Yeah. Which evaluated offenses used of the interrogation techniques included hypnosis and drugs. The program ceased in 1956. 3 years prior to the halt of Project Artichoke, Project MK-ULTRA came into existence on April 13th, 1953, along the lines proposed by Richard Helms, Deputy Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, with the rationale of establishing a special funding mechanism of extreme sensitivity.
Most likely blackmail material, compromat.
Yeah, there's probably, because this was pre-drug smuggling and stuff, before they could get money off of that. The hypothetical etymology of MK may possibly stand for mind control, the obvious post-war translation of the German word control into English is control.
Oh,
How about that? Weird.
that's a stretch.
A host of German doctors procured from the Nazi talent pool were an invaluable asset towards
Nazi talent pool. Sorry, that's the punk band name.
That is a pretty good one. Were an invaluable asset toward the development of MKUltra. The correlation between the concentration camp experiments and the numerous sub-projects of MKUltra are clearly evident. The various avenues used to control human behavior under MKUltra included radiation, electroshock, psychology, psychiatry, sociology, anthropology, graphology, harassment substances. What's a harassment substance?
Date rape drugs? I don't know.
Harassment substances.
You wrote it.
No, this is from the article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And paramilitary devices and materials, LSD being the most widely dispensed material.
Jeez,
A special procedure designated MK Delta was established to govern the use of MK Ultra abroad. These materials were used for harassment, discrediting, or disabling purposes.
MK Delta on the 149 or of the 149 sub projects under the umbrella of MK Ultra, 149 sub projects of MK Ultra having been identified. Project Monarch officially began by the U.S. Army in the early 1960s, although unofficially implemented much earlier, appears to be the most prominent and is still classified as top secret for national security reasons. However, this is number 9 in his footnotes, and he cites Kathy O'Brien's book, which has no credibility. She's been through some fucked up shit. I'll say that. But as far as the existence,
I think every model ever has gone through some fucked up shit.
Casting couch call.
Yeah.
Or casting call couch. Yeah, no, he cites this particular bit of info as Transformation of America, the book by Kathy O'Brien. However, there is no recorded official mention of a Project Monarch in anything. So, but
that ain't mean shit.
Yeah,
because of all this stuff that they've released and disclosed.
Yeah.
There's gotta be. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yep, and the Rockefellers were in charge of most of that disclosure.
Man, it says 149 sub-projects.
Yeah.
But the thing, it just made me think, like, how many of those were, like, really a scientist is just phoning it in? He's like, yeah, I gave him some LSD and let him watch cartoons.
I gave him 5,000 doses of LSD one day, and
Agent Kirby, we've got a special assignment for you.
Now he just sits there and pisses himself.
It's called Operation Get Us Some Coffee.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the, I mean, think about how many of these scientists are probably just alcoholics, and they're just there fucking collecting a check and doing the minimal, which, you know, it's like, all right, give the guy some acid.
Yeah.
Can you believe they pay us to do this shit?
All right, now take the puppy away.
Begging sex workers, yes, and then take the puppy away. Let's see. Monarch may have been culminated from MK Search subprojects such as Operation Spellbinder, which was set up to create quote-unquote sleeper assassins, i.e. Manchurian candidates, who could be activated upon receiving a keyword or phrase while in a post-hypnotic trance. Operation Often, a study which attempted to harness the power of occultic forces, was possibly one of several cover programs to hide the insidious reality of Project Monarch. Now, Operation Often, I've tried to find as much information on this particular subproject as I could, and it's hard to find anything really substantial on it, because I'm very interested in the government's approach to what they consider occultism, and I know that they hooked up like with fortune tellers and tarot card readers and shit like that, but it sounds very...
It's like Hellboy shit, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I'm looking for, at least,
Yeah.
like the deep nastiness of it. Let's see, definition and description. Let's see, the name Monarch is not necessarily defined within the context of royal nobility, but rather refers to the monarch butterfly. See?
Yeah.
When a person is undergoing trauma induced by electroshock, a feeling of lightheadedness is evidenced, as is one of floating or fluttering like a butterfly. There is also a symbolic representation pertaining to the transformation or metamorphosis of this insect from a caterpillar to a cocoon, or dormancy and inactivity, to a butterfly or new creation, which will return to its point of origin.
No, they just named it because, like, hey, check it out. When I hit him with the electricity, they flap his arms kind of like a fucking butterfly.
You know, just a real quick aside, I was watching a little video about the whole cocoon process and the metamorphosis. When they go build that cocoon for themselves, the whole entire butterfly or the larvae turns into mush, like soup,
reconstitutes,
and then
itself.
then it rebuilds. It turns into a pile of rotten shit, and then it rebuilds itself. And that kind of, like, to me, I find
that's
that really
fucking
fascinating.
super amazing, actually.
The green hornworms that we feed the bearded dragon, if we've let some just stay in the container for a while, they do the metamorphosis shit. And one time I poked one open, and it was just gross on the inside. And then I let another one finish, and it was like, it turns
into snot, and then it rebuilds its whole entire genetics.
It's like a whole molecular restructuring.
It's fucking
basically.
cool, man.
Yeah.
And that is also, I can see a apt metaphor for this programming, because they basically turn your mind into a fucked to death pile of flaming shit, and then rebuild it into something new.
Fuck to death. I like that
into
adjective.
Eileen. What was her last name? Eileen. Her alias, alter ego. That was
Arlene.
Arlene.
Yeah.
Lurleen.
Arlene.
Lurleen Lumpkin. Occultic symbolism may give additional insight into the true meaning. Psyche is the word for both soul and butterfly, coming from the belief that human souls become butterflies while searching for a new reincarnation. Some ancient mystical groups, such as the Gnostics, saw the butterfly as a symbol of corrupt flesh.
Because it looks like a spread vagina.
Probably. There's probably some of that. The Angel of Death, a.k.a. Mengele, in Gnostic arts works was portrayed crushing the butterfly. A marionette is a puppet that is attached to strings and is controlled by the puppet master, hence Monarch programming is also referred to as the marionette syndrome.
See, 6 + 6 + 6, see?
See?
6 sides to the hexagon.
On the 6th day of
June.
Yeah. Also known as imperial condition, or another term is imperial conditioning, while some mental health therapists know it as conditioned stimulus response sequences.
Yeah, CSRS,
Yeah, CSRS. It sounds Sounds plausible when you say it like that. Project Monarch could best be described as a form of trauma-structured disassociation and occultic integration in order to compartmentalize the mind into multiple personalities within a systematic framework. During the process, a satanic ritual, usually including Kabbalistic mysticism, is performed with the purpose of attaching a particular demon or group of demons to the corresponding altar or altars. Of course, most people would view this as simply a means to enhance trauma within the victim, negating a rational belief that demonic possession actually occurs.
Yeah, to make the victim seem completely
kooky, crazy. Yeah.
Now, everyone they tried the demon stuff on were these people that were like religious at least a little bit in the beginning. Did they ever try that on a complete atheist? Like who's just like,
that's the thing.
This is fucking stupid. What are you doing?
This
demon? I don't believe in any of this shit.
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
it, that tickles.
This whole Project Monarch thing is couched in Christian conspiracy theory. And you'll notice that this guy, he's calling out the Catholic Church. He's calling about Kabbalistic mysticism. So there is some agenda in the background of this.
Yeah. Kabbalistic, a.k.a.
Jewish mysticism.
Jewish.
Yeah. Altars and triggers, anyone?
Yeah.
I knew they'd come in.
Another way of examining this convoluted victimization of body and soul is by looking at it as a complex computer program. A file, or an altar, is created through trauma, repetition, and reinforcement. In order to activate or trigger the file, a specific access code or password or a cue or command is required. The victim survivor is called a slave by the programmer/handler, who in turn is perceived as a master or a god. About 75% are female, since they possess a higher tolerance for pain and tend to disassociate easier than males.
It makes sense.
Maybe it has something to do with squeezing out a sack of flour out of a hole the size of a...
That and squeezing in the wieners of ugly dudes.
Cornish game hens.
So 75% are female. Subjects are used mainly for covert operations, prostitution, and pornography. Involvement in the entertainment industry is also notable.
Former military officer connected to the CIA told this writer, the man who wrote the article, in the big picture, these people, aka Monarch victims, are in all walks of life, from the bum on the street to the white-collar guy. I highly doubt that. In corroboration, a retired CIA agent vaguely discussed the use of such personnel to be used as quote-unquote plants or chameleons for the purpose of infiltrating a designated group, gathering information, and or injecting an ulterior agenda. This is also what you see or hear about with things like Black Lives Matter, QAnon, etc. Like, this stuff is still kind of going on, like, according to that particular tactic, at least. There are an inordinate amount of alters in the victim/survivor with numerous backup programs, mirrors, and shadows. A division of a light side, good, and dark side, bad, alters are interwoven in the mind and rotate on an axis. One of the main internal structures, of which there are many within the system, is shaped like a double helix, consisting of 7 levels. Each system has an internal programmer who oversees the quote-unquote gatekeepers, or demons, who grant or deny entry into the different rooms. A few of the internal images predominantly seen by victims or survivors are trees, the Kabbalistic tree of life, with adjoining root systems, infinity loops, ancient symbols and letters, spider webs, mirrors, or glass shattering, masks, castles, mazes, demons, monsters, aliens, seashells, butterflies, snakes, ribbons, bows, flowers, hourglasses, clocks, robots, chain of command diagrams, and or schematics of computer circuitry boards.
Turtles, girdles, and yo-yos.
Essentially every fucking thing if you look hard enough.
See, the whole thing with making it a separate personality in their head, because as far as the whole, like, people with actual multiple personality disorder has kind of been debunked, right? Like,
yeah, all but debunked. Yeah,
almost. It's like most of the psychiatric world is like, nah, that shit's really not real. That's people handling their trauma in a weird way.
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's not an actual real definitive person in there.
Yeah, it's not like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
thing.
it's like this person
or the Incredible Hulk.
Just and a lot of them are just faking it.
Yeah, I actually ran across an instance of a guy faking another personality when he killed his stepmom.
What was that awesome movie Richard Gere and the guy.
Ed Norton.
Ed Norton, right?
Yeah.
At the end, where he's like, "You stupid son of a bitch!" Yeah, like
It was me the whole time.
It was me the whole time. I'm really just a fucking asshole.
No, yeah, like the whole thing hinges on disassociation, which basically, like, if you sort of just fall back on muscle memory, you're disassociating.
Okay.
Or if you're playing video game, well, that's more muscle memory too. But like daydreaming, we do it all the time. It's just to what degree and to how strongly you're disassociating.
I guess I do that a little bit.
Can you? So there are several levels of Monarch programming, and this is where shit gets real. And I use the word real in quotation marks. Let's see. There's alpha, regarded as quote-unquote general or regular programming within the base control personality, characterized by extremely pronounced memory retention, along with substantially increased physical strength and visual acuity. Alpha programming is accomplished through deliberate subdividing of the victim's personality, which in essence causes a left brain, right brain division, allowing for a programmed union of left and right through neuron pathway stimulation. That's the scientific side of things. Kathy O'Brien says this is what she's been, manipulated to have. However, people have tested her her memory and visual acuity, and it doesn't seem to be. Maybe that's part of the deprogramming. Who knows? Beta, referred to as sexual programming. This is the one you hear the most about usually, and this is the big Hollywood one. This programming eliminates all learned moral convictions and stimulates the primitive sexual instincts devoid of inhibitions. Cat
Sounds
alters.
like meth.
Yeah. Cat alters may come out at this level. This is the one that, like, what's Beyonce's other character? Chris Gaines?
Oh fuck! What was her?
It's like Sasha
Fierce.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
That's supposedly, like, that's what people have jumped on with all this shit. And, like,
Oh.
anytime a musician or
Yeah,
artist...
she's in on it too.
Yeah. Not Bay. Let's see. Delta. This is known as killer programming. Originally developed for training special agents or elite soldiers, i.e. Delta Force, 1st Earth Battalion, the men who stare at goats, Mossad, etc. He mentioned Mossad. So, in covert operations, optimal adrenal output and controlled aggression is evident. Subjects are devoid of fear, very systematic in carrying out their assignments. Self-destruct or suicide instructions are layered in at this level. Theta, anyone?
Sounds like meth.
Considered to be psychic programming, bloodliners, those coming from multi-generational satanic families, were determined to exhibit a greater propensity for having telepathic abilities than did non-bloodliners. Due to its evident limitations, however, various forms of electronic mind control systems were developed and introduced, namely biomedical human telemetry devices, brain implants, directed energy lasers using microwaves and/or electromagnetics. It is reported that these are used in conjunction with highly advanced computers and sophisticated satellite tracking systems. Yes, Jewish space lasers or just direct energy weapons. LA, anyone? LA?
Yeah.
I was listening to a guy this week, again, going on the whole...
Couldn't be the drought.
Look at all the blue things that didn't burn. It's like... It's like, what the fuck, you fucking idiot! Like
all the blue things
Look at the burn damage from every other wildfire ever,
Yes.
and there's some things that don't burn.
Yes, and they're like, look, the trees didn't burn. It's like, because they're full of fucking water. Like, that's why trees don't burn. Like, they literally burn the scrub out of... Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and the fire is carried by the wind. Sometimes the wind will change directions,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Fire moves in strange directions.
That whole theory is cranked up by people who have obviously never started a fucking campfire.
Let's see.
Not Boy Scouts.
Fire has a mind of its own.
Pyrophiliacs, or whatever they're called. Maniacs. Omega?
Pyrophiliac, yeah, that's people who
Fuck
wanna
fire.
Fuck fire,
Yeah.
Fire fuckers.
Doesn't sound safe.
Omega, a self-destruct form of programming, also known as code green. The corresponding behaviors include suicidal tendencies and or self-mutilation.
Hell yeah, suicidal tendencies.
Rock on.
Yep.
All I wanted was a Pepsi.
This program is generally activated when the victim/survivor begins therapy or interrogation and too much memory is being recovered.
Yeah, like a dead man switch, basically.
Yeah.
There's Gamma. Another form of system protection is through quote-unquote deception programming, which elicits misinformation and misdirection. This level is intertwined with demonology and tends to regenerate itself at a later time if inappropriately deactivated. There's Omicron, allegedly used for illicit drug smuggling and black market businesses.
Thought that was a Delta variant of COVID or something.
Yeah.
And then Zeta, which is supposedly related to the production of snuff films. However, there's very little. Yeah, there's
Dude,
Come the fuck
I
on.
have repeatedly been going back looking for snuff film evidence, and there's not a lot.
they're all in police lockup. They do exist,
There's
but not.
But
in
you'll
the
never
definition.
see them.
No, yeah, and it's not in the definition of snuff film in that it was created specifically for
somebody to get off.
for-
Watching a murder that was only taking place because it wanted to make a film.
Yeah.
Like
there's
a couple instances, but nothing real concrete.
There's definite cases of like child abuse materials out there that have happened on the dark web.
Into it, there was a guy that he was released recently on appeal, and he had originally wanted a snuff film, but it was FBI undercover agents kind of like coerced him.
Yeah.
Well, that's his argument. But he did say
The
he's
FBI
like,
does do
he's
that.
like, I was just talking about a fantasy. Like that was his defense, which apparently eventually got him out like 20 years later.
Like the cannibal cop. Case,
Basically,
kinda.
like he was like, I was just verbalizing a fantasy and saying that yes, I wanted to kidnap a boy and molest him and murder him on film, but you know, I wasn't going to do that. I was just talking about a fantasy.
Right.
Either way, that dude belonged in fucking prison, and I'm mad he got out. So whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go into snuff films. I'll bring that up, and maybe we'll do a little small thing on it later.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something I want to come back to at some point.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Where was this one part I wanted to read? Programmers and places. It's difficult to figure out who the original programmer of this satanic project was due to the substantial amount of disinformation and cross-contamination propagated by the powers that be. Yeah. The two that went by the amount of the two color-coded names of Dr. Green are a Jewish doctor named Dr. Grunbaum, who supposedly collaborated with the Nazis during World War II, and Dr. Joseph Mengele himself, whose trademark of cold-blooded and calculating brutality has not only scarred the souls of survivors from Auschwitz, but also countless numbers of victims throughout the world. Mengele's direct involvement at the infamous Auschwitz concentration camp was suspiciously downplayed during the Nuremberg trials, and consequently no intensified effort by the U.S. and its allies was directed towards his capture. Let's see. There's Dr. Ewan Cameron, constantly mentioned stalwart within MKUltra literature. There's also Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. Other alleged mastermind manipulators, past and present, are Gottlieb, Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander, Richard Dabney Anderson, U.S. Navy, Dr. James Monroe, Dr. John Lilly, the guy who made a woman fuck a dolphin, essentially, Lieutenant Commander Thomas Nerritt, Dr. William Jennings Bryant, Dr. Bernard L. Diamond, Dr. Martin Orne, Dr. Louis Jolyon West, who we mentioned frequently in our Laurel Canyon series.
Jolyon.
Yeah, and Dr. Robert J. Lifton, Dr. Harris Isbell, and Colonel Wilson Green. The notable names connected with this are people you've probably heard of before, such as Paul Bonacci, who was very central figure in the whole, the Nebraska, well, God damn it, what do they call it? The Franklin cover-up scandal.
I was going to say, yeah.
The article goes on to say, Paul Bonacci, a courageous survivor who endured almost 2 decades of degradation under Project Monarch, has disclosed strong corroborating evidence of wide-scale crimes and corruption from the municipal/state level all the way up to the White House. He has testified about sexually abused males selected from Boys Town in Nebraska and taken to nearby Offutt Air Force Base, where he says they were subjected to intense Monarch programming, directed mainly by Commander Bill Plemons and former Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, who is another figure that we will do a later episode on in full. After thoroughly tormenting the young boys into mindless oblivion, they were used, along with girls, for pornography and prostitution with several of the nation's political and economic power brokers. Bonacci recalled being transported from the Air Force Base via cargo planes to McClellan Air Force Base in California. Along with other unfortunate adolescents and teenagers, he was driven to the elite retreat Bohemian Grove. The perpetrators took full advantage of these innocent victims, committing unthinkable perversions in order to satisfy their deviant lusts, Some victims were apparently murdered, further traumatizing already terrified and broken children. Other programming methods and tools include a shitload of Disney animated films. Like, this pops up in Monarch literature all the time, specifically Alice in Wonderland and various other animated Disney films of the time, as well as the film The Wizard of Oz.
Fantasia, man.
Yes, Fantasia is a big one. And then there's also certain foods that are associated with triggers, such as Oreos and M&Ms.
Weird.
Yeah. Dr. Corydon Hammond, an alleged deprogrammer and exposer, was a psychologist from the University of Utah who delivered a stunning lecture entitled Hypnosis and Multiple Personality Disorder, Ritual Abuse, at the 4th Annual Eastern Regional Conference on Abuse and Multiple Personality, June 25th, 1992, in Alexandria, Virginia. This is essentially, I think, the first mention of Project Monarch, and it comes from this guy who's also a hypnotist and a psychiatrist. So take it with a whole fucking ocean of salt. But he essentially confirmed the suspicions of the attentive crowd of mental health professionals, wherein a certain percentage of their clients had undergone mind control programming in an intensively systematic manner. Hammond alluded to the Nazi connection, military and CIA mind control research, Greek letter and color programming, and specifically mentioned the Monarch Project in relation to a form of operant conditioning. Shortly after his groundbreaking speech, he received death threats. Not wanting to jeopardize the safety of his family, Dr. Hammond stopped disseminating any follow-up information until recently, and that would be in the early 90s when this was written.
I stopped disseminating in the early 90s, too.
Yeah, I did too till recently. Now, let's see. This is an article from Mind Controlled Sex Slaves in the CIA by Tracy Twyman, who's another person who is a big conspiracy writer who died under mysterious circumstances, and I want to cover her in the future soon too, because her story is fucking crazy. Like, she's got a lot of published material out there. She's mostly into like conspiracies about like the Christ bloodline. Holy Grail
I
type
did
shit.
look this one up when you mentioned. I didn't even go far, but yeah, I looked.
But her death is surrounded in strangeness, and it occurred during the time that QAnon was pushing all the spirit cooking, all that shit. But this particular article focuses on someone perhaps most of you have heard of. For instance, the latest Michael Jackson child molestation case made me suspicious as detailed rumors that started pouring out during the trial. According to the stories, Jackson had for many years been bringing 12-year-old to 14-year-old boys to his circus-like Neverland Ranch in California, showering them with toys and gifts, plying them with alcohol or Jesus juice, aka wine in a Coke can, and sexually molesting them. In many cases, the parents of the boys seemed to be complicit in what was going on, as they repeatedly brought their sons to spend the night alone in bed with this strange grown man.
Also very interesting, he was on propanol, which is one of those similar to the drugs we were talking about.
Oh.
He was addicted to a dissociative sedative.
Propofol, yeah.
Propofol.
Is that what killed him?
Yes.
His milk.
His milk?
It looked like white milk. I remember when he died, and they were talking about that doctor that was giving it to him. It's a white fluid.
I thought he got injections of it too.
Yeah, it's an injection, but it had like a vial on it, and it was like it looked like milk in an injection vial.
Ugh.
Weird. God, and see if it looks
Give
like...
me my milk.
Yeah. Milk carton kids are connected to this as well, so strange.
Same word, yeah.
Yeah. Jackson reportedly showered the parents with gifts as well, including large sums of cash. Friends of Jackson have reported his tendency to slip into childlike characters that seem like alternate personalities, his favorite being Peter Pan, written by a known pedophile.
Hello, this is me from the future. Just a quick note and a correction. It's not Peter Pan, it's Alice in Wonderland. As far as we know, J.M. Barrie, the writer of Peter Pan and other sequels or prequels, etc., was not one of those people. Just a clarification.
Pedophile.
Because he has
ignorant.
Because he has to never grow up. He seems to be obsessed with the concept of wearing masks and transmogrification, as demonstrated in the videos for his songs Thriller and Black or White. This desire to transform himself has obviously led to Jackson's disastrous plastic surgery, and presumably ties in with the fact that he forces his children to wear masks while they're in public.
Thought he had a skin illness.
Skin
condition.
Vitiligo, or vitiligo.
Virilago.
Something like that.
Discoloration, that led to a lot of his plastic surgery, but
Let's see. Indeed, viewers of Martin Bashir's famous 2003 documentary expose of Michael Jackson saw that he appeared to live in a 24-hour fantasy world of his own making in which he pretended to be a child. He shows all the signs of someone suffering from dissociative identity disorder. Jackson also shows signs of having been sexually abused as a child, and indeed has accused his father, Joe, of abusing him, as has his sister, LaToya. Michael is known to have had a psychosexual problem since early on. His highly publicized marriage to Lisa Marie Presley is believed to have been a publicity stunt, while his marriage to Deborah Rowe was part of a scheme in which his first 2 children were produced through in vitro fertilization. They divorced in 1999, and Jackson had another child in 2002, but nobody knows who the mother is. The kids have always had their faces covered when shown in public.
That's so weird.
Yeah, some say this is partly because...
the balcony dangling.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
God, that's traumatizing
Well, they're all old
as well.
now, and Paris is a bit of a hottie.
Oh yeah,
Paris Jackson?
she's very
you
attractive
not
young
seen her?
girl.
She's
Yeah, she's very very good looking.
Is that the one
Good for her.
from with Elvis's daughter?
Honestly, she looks kind of like a little bit like Kurt Cobain's daughter,
Oh, shit. Beanie Weenie, or whatever her name is?
Frances Bean. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Some say this is partly because he is hiding the fact that they're obviously not his biological children. So who are these kids, and what is happening to them in Michael Jackson's custody? We may never know, as Jackson was acquitted of the molestation charges and immediately went running to Bahrain,
Molestation.
a known child prostitution center where pedophilia is openly tolerated. Yikes. The question of the children's safety becomes even more paramount when we consider allegations made by Jack Gordon, the former husband of Michael Jackson's sister LaToya, who claimed in a tell-all book to have witnessed Jackson sacrificing monkeys in occult rituals.
What?
And
Not
physically,
Bubbles.
and physically abusing his pet monkeys on several occasions. Monkey hate. I
So
don't
he
understand.
spanked
Yeah, well, that's
Did
that's
he
the
spank
philia
his
where you get
monkey?
off by injuring animals,
Ugh,
like
yeah,
breaking,
yeah, like
breaking rats' legs and
Fucking
stuff like
crush
that.
videos and
Yeah.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
disgusting.
gross.
In a similar vein, Vanity Fair reported in March 2003 that in 2000, Michael Jackson paid a voodoo witch doctor in Mali $150,000 to put a curse on his 24 most hated enemies, including Steven Spielberg and David Geffen.
I believe that.
Yeah. The ceremony, which reportedly took place in Switzerland, required Jackson to bathe in the blood of 42 freshly sacrificed cows. Was Michael Jackson a Project
Oh, you
Monarch
can just
victim?
get that from the butcher house.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
the
Cow blood. I'll
slaughterhouse.
get some cow blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get it by 3 o'clock. It has been said that the C.I.A.'s MK-Ultra targeted members of the entertainment industry and that many famous child actors and singers were in fact mind-controlled slaves. The name of this ranch, Neverland, as well as his obsession with Peter Pan, are suspicious to Kathy O'Brien. And what shape could you once see from the air when you fly over the Neverland Ranch? Made out of colorful flowers and bushes?
The penis.
The image of a monarch butterfly.
Ooh.
Ooh. So yeah, I wanted to hypnotize the audience, and I may still make that later, but I don't know. It's once again, there's a lot of things that could potentially go
Don't wield
wrong.
that power, man. You
Yeah,
never know.
exactly.
Ah, fuck it. Do it. Not now, but later.
Yeah. I'll put it. In
I'm going to read what you. Not now.
Do
but
that in
I
ADR.
will
Yeah.
read this in a little bit when I have some time.
But yeah, there's one other mention of
I'm gonna start hypnotizing my wife. But then again, I don't know if I want to dig in there.
you love to take out the garbage.
Yeah.
Of course, many alleged cases of satanic ritual abuse are supposed to have taken place in churches and religious institutions that use Christianity as a cover.
Doy.
Certainly, there have been many real cases of children that were sexually abused in church, most notably by Catholic priests. William H. Kennedy has written an excellent book on the subject that links the phenomena of priest sex abuse to Satanism. It's called Lucifer's Lodge, Satanic Ritual Abuse in the Catholic Church.
Exorcism.
Yeah.
As D.C. Hillman states.
Christing. The fires of temptation. In it, Kennedy reveals that many high-profile priest abuse cases contain satanic and occult aspects that were poured or ignored by the mainstream media. Among these is the case of Father Paul Shanley, an accused child-molesting priest who is linked with the founding of pro-pedophile group NAMBLA.
And father of Gary Shanley.
Is NAMBLA still rocking these days?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's
I
around.
guess they probably had to like.
They're probably behind changing the name from pedophile to MAPS or minor
Oh
attracted
yeah, I know they are for
persons and all
sure
that shit.
involved in that. Yeah.
And he's also has connections to the alleged Satan worshiping Process Church of the Final Judgment, which also featured frequently in our Laurel Canyon series. The latter has been connected by some writers to a series of ritualistic murders all over the United States, and former members claimed they were involved in the trafficking of child pornography, including, once again, snuff films. Snuff films are a big part of this. I don't understand.
Because it's like the ultimate taboo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord, there is definitely still a NAMBLA.org, and I am not going to look at it.
Don't click on
Not gonna click. But it's the second thing. I mean, it's there. It's very. I just see, when the Google, how they like show you the first article.
Get a burner phone for that.
The news media, and by
that. If
extension,
you
the
really
police
need to check it out.
trope in monstering the late Jeffrey Epstein.
What?
Oh, my God.
They were. How dare they monster Jeffrey?
He loved
Epstein.
those children.
This is just trolling at this point on their
It's gotta
fucking
be,
behalf.
bro.
Jesus
It's gotta
Christ.
be. That's fucking. I'm not. Yeah.
Now,
fuck. Dude.
I will say, kind of in closing, that if you're on the fence about the existence of this kind of stuff, then estimates vary, but it is commonly held that approximately 70% of the population is capable of entering the trance state in varying depths. And it's this entering into the trance state, like we talked about with disassociation earlier, daydreaming, shifting into the use of muscle memory. We do it every day. And this is what all this alleged
Like
Monarch...
Big Granola, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Bing, bang, boom. Fucking, this is just, it's something we do, and we do it without even thinking about it, and not thinking is the problem with most of what's going on in the world today, I think. But, varying degrees, but most people are susceptible to it, and it kind of lends credence to the possibility, I'll say, of stuff like this existing. But the whole Project Monarch thing, I don't know. I mean, we have MKUltra. We don't. It's
It's real.
If everyone was, and we know it's real. And if everyone just kind of said Project Monarch, they didn't have to like spin out this like downloadable content, fucking like new exaggerations of the story. Like, it's all, I would say, just if you want to be credible, if you're a person who claims to have been, systematically, traumatically abused to induce certain states of programmable intent, fuck, I feel bad for you, obviously. But if you're trying to be more credible in this, just go with MKUltra, because Project Monarch, it has too many.
They muddied the waters a bit.
Yes, exactly. And that may be on purpose. We never know. So, but yeah, that's today's story of Candy Jones and Monarch mind control programming. Anyone got anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. I just looked up this whole NAMBLA thing, and I'm just
Need to take a shower already?
I need to refocus.
yeah. I need a drink. Fucking go spend some time with my family.
Maybe a whole bottle of scotch. So that's going to be it for this episode. We'll be back next week, I believe, with a special guest. And check out our YouTubes, check out our Facebook, check out our TikToks, clink clongs, bing bangs, all that
Click,
stuff.
clack, ding dong.
Did you fix our Instagram yet? No.
I'm still working on it. I've got to. You're the social media czar, bro.
But I don't. You have the stuff. Okay.
I know. No, I got a code, and I got to check the code or get a new code and all this shit. So
Okay.
yeah, our Instagram got hacked, so whatever. But we're working on it. So yeah, that's gonna be it for Kooks, Cranks, and Iconoclast podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and as always, I'm joined by
Spencer Tutti Frutti or Rudy Lowry.
And I'm Christopher Wells. Catch me at Christ ACAB on all the things.
Yeah. We'll be back next week with that special guest. We're going to talk about a very special lady. Peace out, America, and all the ships at sea and other people in other countries that are probably better than America.
USA!
Gulf of America, Gulf of Tonkin. Peace!